Hi again. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the website design process, and I'm going to take you through a very high-level view of how we design websites and what our process is, so that if you're kind of going it yourself and you're wearing all these hats as a small business owner, and you're building out the site, this will be a good episode for you because you'll be able to see at a high level how you can build out your small business website. A little bit about me before we dive in. My name is Yasmin Robles, and I am the owner of Robles Designs, where we create drill-worthy websites and brands for entrepreneurs who are hell-bent on taking over the world. We do this not just by creating pretty sites, which we do create pretty sites, but our jam is mostly in making sure that the site is functioning at a great level for you. It has a great foundation, and it's going to support your business not just now, but in whatever your goals are for in 1, 2, 3 years. Now let's dive into the topic. The first thing I want you to do is to write down all the goals. You can write it down on anywhere you want. You don't have to show anyone, but all the goals that you have for your website, you need to write those down, and don't even worry about putting them in order or anything like that. So if you want a membership site, if you want pop-ups, if you want email newsletter capture, if you want just a basic static site, if you want a blog site, kind of write all of those down, and then write down also, just kind of brainstorm who this site is for. So is this site for stay-at-home moms, or for people looking into meal prepping, for people looking into homeschooling? So who is this site for, and what are they looking, what value are you going to be providing to them? And for example, value does not necessarily have to be like lose 5 pounds. It might be, if you're a personal trainer creating your website, the value is not, hey, this person's going to help me lose 10 pounds. It's, I'm going to feel so much more confident or fit back into my pre-baby jeans or anything like that. It's more emotional than the transformation is more emotional than it is anything else. So what is the website going to provide of value, and what are the goals that you have for your website in terms of features and functionality? After that, you're going to brainstorm what pages your site might have. And for this, you can look at some of your competitors or some other websites that are somewhat similar. So if you are a service-based entrepreneur, you might want to look into other service-based businesses. If you are as a personal trainer, you might want to look into other fitness areas and see what pages they have. So essentially though, you'll want a homepage. Homepage is the main page of the site. It's what you could call a summary of everything awesome that you do. And so it's a summary of the About You page, it's a summary about your services, and they all have calls to action in order to get people to those particular pages to learn more. So that's the homepage. Even if it's a one-page site, you'll still have a homepage. And the next one is the About page, and this is not about you, it's about the people. It's about how your skill set can help whomever you are looking to target. So just make sure you keep that in mind when you're creating your About page. You're going to have a contact page, and even if you are not necessarily a business, let's say you are a meal prep subscription website, you're still going to want a contact page, just because there might be some general inquiries that people have, or questions or issues, and you want a contact form to be available somewhere on the site. So a home, about, contact. Services, so if you do have a service-based business, you at least want a general service page. The next level from this would be a page for all of your bread and butter services. A few pages that you probably will forget are the legal pages, so privacy policy, terms and conditions, accessibility policy, FAQs. Sometimes people forget, but they're really great to have on a site. FAQs, sign in, login if you have a membership site, and again, contact forms. All that stuff needs to be in your little brainstorming area. And then you're going to organize it. So you're going to want to just kind of label which ones are the most important and which ones are the least. In your most important area, you're going to want no more than about 5 pages. I would say 5 to 7, because those are going to go in a top navigation of the site, and you do not want to clutter that area of the website. So just a few things to keep in mind as you are creating your website. Okay, so the next step after you've brainstormed everything and organized everything is to start creating a sitemap. And a sitemap is basically a list, and I will link to the other video that I created about sitemaps, but it's basically a list of pages that you already created, but it's a bit more organized. So this one, you know which ones are important and you kind of organize them as they would look on the top navigation or in the footer. And you can look at the other video that I created about that, but it's basically going to be just you and like some lines and outlining how that navigation will look and what direction people will go in. So if they land on, if I Google you and I find your homepage, where in that user journey am I going to go next? So am I going to go from home to about to your services and then to the contact form? Or do you have a contact form and intake form already on your service page, and so you really just want me to go from the home to the service page immediately? What journey do you want people to take, and do you want me to just contact you from that form? So just kind of think about that user journey as you're building out your sitemap. But I will link to the other video so that you can take a look more in depth about what a sitemap is. The next thing is a wireframe, which I also have another video and I will link it below as well. But a wireframe is basically a sketch of your most important pages. I wouldn't bother doing one for every single page, especially if you're DIYing your website. But the most important pages like the home, about, the service page, those, not necessarily the contact page since it's usually sometimes just a contact form, but those pages, you kind of sketch out where the content will go. So what I typically do, and you can check out the video that I made, but what I typically do is on the back of any scrap paper from kids' homework, hopefully they already handed it in, I will draw a couple of rectangles to symbolize the page and a couple of squares of where the images will go. Some squiggles will be text, and just so that I can stay organized, and when I'm building out the website, I already know where things are going to be located. I don't have to think about it while building it out and trying to learn the platform. All right, so you brainstormed, you got your list, you got your sitemap and your wireframe, and now you get to build everything out. So if you watch some of our previous videos on platforms, you can go ahead and do that. After you've picked out your platform, you'll want to start building everything out. And what I suggest you do is you start building out by just name all of the pages. So if you know you're gonna have home, about, and contact, and that's how you're going to start out your site, don't even go into the actual building of the page, just create a home page, create an about page, create a contact page, and then designate those appropriately. So for example, on Squarespace, the home page, you'll need to make sure that it is, the site knows that this is the home page. Same thing for WordPress, Shopify. And then you're going to go in there and start kind of just throwing things in. So look at your wireframes, and you have home, about, and contact. So look at your home page wireframe. I know that there's a learning curve for the platform that you might be using if you're DIYing it. If you have done this before, then you can totally just zoom right in. But because of this learning curve, all I want you to do is just take the main boxes, essentially the main puzzle pieces of the page from the wireframe, and put them onto the platform. And you're basically building out these blocks that you will go in and refine later. It's kind of like, I would say, when I first was in art school and I took a class on stonework, and it was basically you get a chunk of stone and you have your design, and you can't just go in and refine everything with a tiny thing. You have to like do massive changes to the stone and kind of block it out. Same thing with the painting. You have to kind of block everything out when you're doing a still life or a portrait, and then you go in with a tiny brush. You don't go in with a tiny brush in the beginning, right? Same thing with these pages, whatever platform you're on. If you're on Squarespace, just go into the home page and start putting in the elements that you think you're going to be using from the wireframe. Do this for all of the pages, and it's going to look horrible. It's gonna look horrible. But what you're going to, from there, you can then just start adding the actual information that you need. So now that you have all this filler information, you can go in and say, you know what, my headshot should go here on the about page. The form on the contact page should ask these particular questions. So I'm gonna go in and refine that. It's going to be emailed to my email or to my VA's email so she can tackle it. And you're basically going through, and now with a tiny brush, and going, well, medium-sized brush, and you're going in and fixing things on the platform, on the site. So now you've used your your large brush and your medium-sized brush on your website. And now is when you have the images, you have the content, and you can refer back to your inspiration, to your goals, and ensure that there aren't any details that you missed. So you're going to go in with your tiny brush and onto your platform, and you're going to just refine everything, make sure that the grammar is perfect, because that's my issue all the time, that you might want to shift some images around, you might want to look into some of the cool things that you're, for example, on Squarespace, if you're on Squarespace, you might want to check your header, your top area where your menu goes and your logo, and maybe you want your logo to be centered, maybe you want the text to be a little bit more poppy or pop out a bit more. So you're going in with a tiny brush and you're kind of making these edits, but the base of the site is complete. So I want you to handle the build out in that way. And the final thing that you get to do on your website, so you have your homepage, about page, and contact page. You've done the brainstorming, the sitemaps, and the wireframes, and you've used your tiny brush, is how you're going to continue this growth. So I know that at this point, a lot of people just kind of like dust themselves off and say that their website is done, but a website is never completed. It is digital. It can be easily edited. So you're going to want to make sure you're gaining enough analytics from your site. Even if you're not necessarily looking at them all the time, you want to be connected with something like Google Analytics. There's also Fathom out there if you want a paid version. Google Search Console, all of these things, Facebook Pixel to track any ads you might be running in the future. You want to add these in now when you're in the final stages of your website in order to grow your website later on. And if you, for example, are looking to add a blog or add some kind of e-commerce, look into how this can be added and play around with it now versus at the last minute when you know you have to launch something and it's just late and it's last minute and you're up till midnight. That is it. Make sure to leave any questions that I might have left unanswered in the comments. Tag me or go on Instagram and send me a message at Robles Design Studio. You can also watch my reels on Instagram where I have a lot of fun and make a little bit of a fool of myself, but it's great. It's great fun, and try to teach you something about websites. You can also check out the freebie at Robles Design Studio at roblesdesigns.com/checklist. It's been a long day. /checklist, where you can download a PDF and check off all the things that your website needs, whether you're building it out now, planning on building it out later, or if you built it out and you're really not sure if you have everything that you should have on your site. That's it, and I will catch you in the next episode. Thanks.